So here we are at the Passo dello Gavia. It is misty, it is raining a little bit. As you can see, the snow is quite heavy on the ground, and over there you can see the glacier. There's a long descent, not actually that steep, although it certainly felt pretty steep. And now for some food, some warm clothes, and the descent. Quite see what this is, but this is near the top of the Gavia, and I assume this is a Italian war memorial. That seems most likely explanation. There's quite a bunch of snow between the road and the war memorial, so I won't go over there. It is really an extraordinary day, because although it's quite misty and quite damp, there is not a breath of wind, and so it makes actually for some quite beautiful cycling, with the exception of these bloody motorbikes. The road has been pretty clear of them so far, but then they turn up. And the thing about it is, you never see one on their own. They're always in a group. They always ride in packs. Who knows why? This is looking back up the section of road that I've just descended. You may be able to see two cyclists crawling up the road by that, or just past that waterfall. Looking back now, down the valley, down the road that I'm about to descend. Day 5 of the classic cols of the Dolomites, and today was a fairly short ride going up to the Passo dello Gavia. Not perhaps as well known as some of the others, although quite famous for Andy Hampsten, who in 1988 became the first non-European to win a Giro d'Italia, and there is an iconic photograph of him climbing up the Gavia and cresting the top, absolutely covered in snow. He's got icicles around his nose and his eyes. There is bits of frost around his nose and his ears and his mouth. He's not wearing gloves, he's not wearing arm warmers, he's not wearing knee warmers. He's just riding an ordinary bike, and the poor bugger is frozen to death, but he won the Giro on the Passo dello Gavia. Now, we left the hotel, which is in a village called Sepina, just a couple of kilometres from Bormio, rode up to Bormio, turned right, and then pretty much started climbing again. And one thing you've got to say about this trip is there ain't much in the way of flat routes. It's climbing pretty much all the way. It wasn't a very hard climb, but it did seem to go on, and it's quite a long climb. I think it's about 15 miles, something like that, about 25k. Fairly gentle, 5-6 to begin with, but then the hairpin started and it got a bit tighter, it got a bit steeper. The weather was okay, but it started to get colder as we neared the top. And then it got colder still, a little bit of rain and big banks of snow to the sides of the road and on the slopes of the mountain. Cresting the top, you then thought you'd reached the top, but in fact you still had about 4 or 5k to go. Not of steep climb, not hairpin bends, but a sort of windy road winding around the summit heading to the pass. So that was quite a struggle, although passing on the left-hand side an amazing sort of partial glacier or frozen lake, so covered in ice, big blocks of snow, as I say, to the side of the road. Amazing place. Mist had started to come down, it was quite foggy, so the only kind of way we knew we'd reached the summit was Christelle looming out of the gloaming, carrying her camera and taking our photo. So we stopped there at the cafe at the summit. I had a panini with a salami, while my mate Nanny McPhee had goulash, quite a delicacy. And the inside of the cafe is plastered with photos of Andy Hampsten and Fausto Coppi and other cyclists. Amazing place. Anyway, we then descended, put on knee warmers, put on a neck buff, put on long gloves, put on a jacket, because it was pretty cold at this time, although the wind had disappeared. So it was quite a lovely descent in some respects, but the road was very poor, quite rutted, quite broken up, quite narrow. So a few close calls with motor cars and sports cars, one with a black Corvette of all things. Not as many motorcycles as on the Stelvio, but a reasonable number. But as you descended off the mountain and got into a village called St. Caterina, you then had a descent of about 10k down to Bormio on a fairly straight, windy road, not busy at all, and you could really get up some great speeds. I managed to reach a speed of 41 miles an hour, which it isn't very fast for you fast guys out there, but it certainly seemed pretty fast to me. Fabulous descent down into Bormio. Nanny was well ahead of me at this time, so just got into Bormio, turned left, went back to the hotel. Got there pretty early, about 1:30, and the nice people at the hotel had prepared a little buffet for us, a lovely fruit tart and some fruit salad. So we sat around, chewed the fat. It was a bit cold by then, so we started out in the garden, but we soon ended up inside in the bar. And then Christelle said she was going into town to the supermarket, and did anybody want to go? I wanted to go, and so did Roz, one of the ladies on the trip. But in fact, then the owner, or the hotel owner, the lady was going into Bormio to do her shopping, I suppose, and she very kindly offered to give us a lift, which she did. So Roz and I wandered around the centre of Bormio. Roz wanted to buy a cycling top, went into a couple of shops, and eventually she found the one she wanted with Stelvio written all over it. Looked very fetching too. We were looking for, well, tat, I suppose. Roz wanted to buy a keyring with the Passo di Stelvio on it, but although there were quite a lot of sort of ski shops and clothes shops, not much in the way of tat shops, so you're missing a trick there, Bormio. Get the tat out. Anyway, we were then picked up by David in the Marmot van, who took us back to the hotel. Opposite the hotel, there's a very old church, which I sort of noticed but hadn't done anything about. But Roz, who's much more observant than I am,
had done a bit of exploring, so wandered around there, took some photos, went inside the church. Beautiful building it was, very quiet, nobody in there. Well, boss was in there, but apart from that, wonderful place to look at. Took a few photos, came back to the room, started to pack away, got changed, made this video. See you next time.